Hello everyone, this is Asil Sorbekova here, your guide to understanding matters of sustainability the legal way. Today's video will be about one of the first fast fashion industry fire accidents of all time, the alley factory fire involving a German retailer, Kick. I have watched many videos on fast fashion here on YouTube and did not hear anyone talking about this accident. So I thought I would dedicate this week's video to the deadly factory fire, Ali Enterprises factory fire. 259 people died when the Ali Enterprises textile factory in Karachi, Pakistan was gutted by fire on the 11th of September 2012. Inadequate fire safety measures at the factory, a supplier for the German clothes retailer Kick, led to the catastrophic death toll. In other words, as in 95% of scenarios, there was a factory in a country of the global south, Ali Enterprises factory in Pakistan, and this factory produced clothes for a retailer for the German brand Kick. I have looked at this German brand Kick, and just by looking at their prices, I was shocked. Clothes are as cheap as it gets. 5 euros per leggings, 3 euros per t-shirt, and the list goes on. I mean, you can see it here. So you have these clothes, which are dirt cheap, and you have this accident, which was catastrophic. Despite the accident, Kick has still been continuing to produce clothes that are dirt cheap. So when a fast fashion brand that was on a spotlight because of a situation that it involved an accident that led to many dead and injured, keeps on producing and selling clothes that are so dirt cheap, the question we need to ask ourselves is, how come a company like Kick has not learned its lessons? How come it has not raised the salary of the workers? And how come its clothes are extremely cheap? Question: what caused the fire? According to the forensic architecture, the Pakistani law was in line with international labor standards on occupational safety and health, but the actual practice, the fire equipment and safety measures in the factory were not in conformity with the law. First, the construction of the building was executed by violating the Karachi building regulations. The whole point on what I'm trying to say, you can see it right here on the screen. Second, factory had 5 doors, but all of these doors were not openable. 3 of these 5 were unable to be accessed or they were locked, and the remaining 2 were blocked by fire. The factory also had outside doors, but they were useless because they were open to the outside, and from the outside there was no level access. Third, windows had iron bars, rendering escape impossible. Fourth, flammable and hazardous materials were not kept away. A kerosene was next to the iron rod. Flammable items were poorly managed. And according to the forensic architecture, this might have been the reason for the fire. In light of this, the fire had spread very quickly, and in about 35 minutes, from 18 hours 30 minutes when it was discovered up until 19 hours 3 minutes when the firemen arrived, the fire had spread to all floors and smoke had filled the unventilated basement. The smoke reduced the visibility and caused the death to the many. Moreover, as mentioned, the locked doors and barred windows made it impossible for people to escape, and the poorly constructed main stairs were broken by the fire. All this got people dead. Officially, it was reported that there were 268 plus minus 40 workers that worked inside the factory, depending on the day. But witnesses actually said that there were around 885 people working inside. So we don't know how many in reality died. So who is responsible? First, it's the state, it's government, because it was negligent by authorizing a construction of such an unsafe building. The second, it's the Ali Enterprises factory owners. And the third one, the Kick. Well, why was Kick responsible? Kick hired an Italian company, Rina, to inspect safety of the building, which was done 3 weeks prior to the fire. Rina, in its turn, went on to hire a subcontractor, which confirmed that the building was safe, and thus Rina, the company, the inspection company, issued a certification of eligibility of the factory. Kick is responsible because it had been doing business with the Ali Enterprises factory, whose building did not conform both to national Pakistani and international labor standards. Kick Textilian initially provided $1 million in emergency benefits in December 2012 to victims. This was distributed through the Sindh High Court to the dependents of the identified victims. The beneficiaries also received payments from public social security schemes with provisions of local legislation. As for concerns and demands that this sum was not enough to compensate for the losses, Kick rejected any whatsoever claim that they would need to pay more. Victims then reached the regional court in Dortmund, Germany, a home state of the Kick, to demand a fair compensation. Forensic architecture was commissioned by the European Centre for Constitutional and Human Rights to carry out an architectural analysis of the fire. Their findings, which you can read on the website and watch the simulation video from the website below, were then submitted to the regional court in Dortmund, Germany. Since March 2015, the court had been examining a civil claim against Kick filed by 4 claimants, 1 survivor, and 3 relatives of workers killed in the fire, with support from the above-mentioned center and an institution called Medico International. They claimed the company should bear responsibility for the fire safety deficiencies. In 2019, however, the court rejected the lawsuit on the basis that the statute of limitations had expired, which means that now the plaintiffs will appeal according to the last information. So the lawsuit sought compensation for pain and suffering caused by the fire for all the affected families, as well as an apology and the company's pledge to ensure safety at its outsourced clothing production facilities. And on the 30th of August 2016, the court accepted jurisdiction and granted legal aid to the claimants. Shortly after, in September 2016, the Kick Textilian agreed to pay on a voluntary basis an additional amount of $5.515 million for long-term compensation. A compensation to ensure that regular payments go to beneficiaries in line with the minimum requirements of the ILO's Employment Injury Benefits Convention, Convention number 121. In January 2018, all parties agreed on how the funds would be dispersed to the different categories of beneficiaries. It was announced that, as part of an agreement facilitated by the ILO, families of the victims would get monthly pensions from the amount provided by Kick, starting in February 2018. This arrangement supplements payments to victims by public social security schemes. And in May 2018, the families of 209 victims of the Baldia factory incident started receiving long-term compensation from the amount provided by Kick. So as you can see, there were many events in this in the aftermath of the accident. They were starting to receive compensation from the money that Kick decided to give. They decided to give $1 million, of course, $1 million for 300 persons' families is just a drop in the ocean. This is not enough. So what happened is that on the side, there was this International Labor Organization that decided to enter into the situation and serve as a mediator, should we say. And at the end of these negotiations between Germany, Kick, Pakistani government, and the ILO, there was an agreement that was reached to attribute a compensation in the amount of $5.15 million which would be paid by Kik to the victims' families. So that's point one. Point two, there was also a parallel domestic tort case going on behalf of 4 persons concerned. But the case was dropped because there was the statute of limitation that was an issue. The statute of limitation expired. Now we will have to see, if the parties will, appeal. Then what we will have to see what the decision of the German court in Dortmund will be. I will, of course, keep you posted on this. The question is, what could have helped to prevent the accident, or at least to ease the human losses? Well, small changes is what the forensic architecture is saying. According to this institution, a well-set alarm, additional stairs, openable windows, openable doors could have been sufficient to prevent a fire. And I feel that since the question of the compensation fund was settled only in January 2018, the procedure, it was lengthy. And also, it was not enough. This money is a drop in the ocean compared to the human losses and the sufferings of the families of those who died. I think as the measure, it's not a sustainable measure. There should be other more sustainable ones that need to be addressed, that need to be put into practice. And for obvious reasons, Kik cannot keep continuing its selling practice to sell clothes that are dirt cheap, that are €3, €5, and I'm not even talking about the discounted prices. As you can see, 8 years have passed since the alley factory fire accident. And even if the compensation fund in the amount of $5.15 million was set, and the victims are starting to finally get their payments, with the claimants in the German lawsuit deciding to appeal, the story of the victims of the alley factory's fire accident is not over yet, and it is yet just the beginning, and we need to see what the decision of the German court will be. The Kik is happy that, the agreement was reached between itself, the International Labour Organization, the German government, and the Pakistani government, but it's not fair. It's not fair because, as I said, it's not sustainable. I would like to conclude with the words of the Pakistani native, Mr. Osama Shahid. 6 years after the deadliest factory fire in Pakistan's history, the working conditions have not improved. Occupational hazards and criminal lack of safety measures persist just as shamelessly as they did in 2012. That's it for now. For a detailed understanding on what is fast fashion and how fast fashion works, check out my video Fast Fashion, The Unspoken Truth and Human Rights. The link is up here. To watch similar videos like this, click the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, press like, share this video, and join me every Sunday 10 a.m. CET. And also leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with me. Until then, take care and see you next time.